You're listening to the Research Report Show
on Varsity Podcasts.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Research Report Show on Varsity Podcasts. I'm Tinashe Kushata, and today we're joined by Kiren Reggo. Say hello, Kiren.
Hi, everyone.
Kiren is joining us from the University of Cape Town, where he just completed his Master's in Development Studies. Kiren, please tell us a little bit about yourself.
So, I'm originally from Zimbabwe. Been living in Cape Town for 6 years. Like Tina just said, finished my Master's in Development Studies. Hopefully looking to do a PhD in the near future.
All right. So what was your actual research about? You know, since on this show, we like to hear what our young researchers are looking at this time.
So I was mainly focused on looking at migration, in particular Zimbabwean migrants coming into South Africa. Well, obviously, as a Zimbabwean, you get to meet a lot of Zimbabweans in South Africa, and you realize that, whoa, hold on, a lot of these people are undocumented or illegal, but we don't like to use the word illegal. We prefer undocumented migrants.
Wait, not alien?
No, alien is a negative connotation. So undocumented migrants. So I realized that this is an issue that needs to be discussed, and there's been a lot of research done on this. So I took a very particular stance in my thesis, and I looked at undocumented migrants in Cape Town, because that's where we stay.
So these are undocumented Zimbabweans in Cape Town?
Yeah.
And what about them? Okay, they're undocumented, they're migrants, and what exactly were you looking for?
Okay, and all my participants had applied for the Zimbabwean special permit, and for one reason or another, they had been denied this permit. So now they had been forced to stay in South Africa illegally.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So initially, the plan was to interview at least 25 people. But because of the nature of the topic and because it's so sensitive and people aren't willing to disclose their migration status to anybody, it was very difficult to find these participants.
Yeah, because, so you went to find undocumented migrants from Zimbabwe.
Yes.
But what was your exact research question? So what about, you already knew that they're undocumented, they didn't get this permit. So what was this a life story kind of research, or what were you trying to get them to talk to you about?
Part of it was a life story, but the main aim of my dissertation was to draw a link between how changes to South Africa's immigration policy, which have become more restrictive, actually force migrants to turn to illegal means to remain in the country. So instead of making, it easier for migrants to regularize their status in the country, these new policies actually force them to turn to illegal means to remain in the country, like sending their passports back home to get stamped, or trying to apply for asylum even though they don't qualify for the asylum seeker permit. So that was the main aim of my dissertation, to draw the link between restrictive policies that don't actually help much. They actually make the situation much worse than it already is.
Oh, wow. Okay. I think I get a better picture of that now. So you said, of course, it is a sensitive issue and you only managed to speak with a smaller sample than you would have wanted to.
Yes.
So maybe give us an idea of the kind of group you ended up working with, like the age range, how many people, and how forthcoming they were in answering your questions.
So I managed to interview 15 people, which I personally don't think is a bad sample size, because less is more, and the interviews were great. There was a lot of information. They were really in depth. And I got to go to a few of the respondents' homes and spend time with them. So that was also fantastic. So most of the respondents were men. And I think that draws into the whole cultural aspect of, coming from Zimbabwe. Women were not as willing to discuss issues of their migration status with me, mostly because some of them are married and, you have to get permission from your husband to invite another man into your home. So logically, it just made more sense. Let me just focus on
So
speaking.
really, it's still like that? Like
Yes.
they still have to get permission?
Yes.
Wow.
I think it's even worse in South Africa because now you've got, let's say, your Shona and Ndebele culture, and now you also have to, fit into South African culture. So people don't realize that you're actually a foreigner and you don't belong. So now you have to follow certain gender roles within South Africa so you can fit in.
I see.
Yeah. So I just mainly focused on interviewing men. So the youngest participant I had was 19 years old. And he was out of school for 2 years. And the oldest participant was about 45, 46. And he had migrated here with his family, his wife and his 2 kids. So, that was the age range of the participants, with most of them were in their 20s, mid to late 20s.
And what kind of stories were they giving you? Of course, not to go too in depth with it because this is sensitive information. Were they open? Did you get what you were looking for in order to be able to, like you're saying, connect those links between what's been happening with policies?
Yeah, I got the information I needed and then some, because I didn't expect the results that I got, which was a good thing. So the consensus amongst all the participants was that if you stay in Johannesburg, you will get caught if you are a foreigner and you will be deported. So these people all made the decision, you know what, let's go to Cape Town because there's less...
Really? So that's like a legit...
Yes.
Wow. A legit reason to move has been that it's safer here.
Yeah, because there's less policing, and police here are more concerned with gang activity than they are dealing with, migrants. Even though there is a large undocumented migrant community in the Western Cape. So you have your Somalis, you have a few Pakistanis, and you have a lot of Zimbabweans, and most of these people are undocumented. But because the police are so preoccupied by gangs and drugs and poaching, they don't waste time on that. Whereas in Joburg, it's either you're dealing with robbery or you're going to go look for migrants in the city center. So a lot of the migrants told me about how they came to South Africa, and quite a few of them illegally jumped the border. So cut the fence and you walk through into South Africa. And a few of them just walked straight through the border post, acting like they knew what they were doing. And that was one of the key elements that emerged in the results, is that when you are attempting to do something illegal, if you act like you know what you're doing, the police will never pick up on it. So that's the one thing that emerged, and I can actually attest to that because I tried it when I was coming back from Zimbabwe.
What?
I just walked across the border and the policeman didn't even question me. Obviously, I went back and got my passport stamped.
We hope you went back and
I
did the right thing.
Law-abiding
Wait, where are your
citizen.
documents? But anyway, no, I get what you're saying though. These people are going through such tough times just to try to escape
Poverty, oppression, political oppression, hunger.
Just hostile environment, And I'm glad though that at least there are people who've been trying to talk to you, who allowed you to talk to them about some of their experiences. So what were the conclusions that you got? I mean, of course, like you said, there were some themes that were coming up about behaviors and how people are making it work, trying to remain incognito and hide in plain sight. So what were the main things you got from all that?
Okay, let me just briefly go through a few points. The main one that stood out for me is that these Zimbabwean migrants fall into a new category of migration. So they're economic migrants. They migrate for economic reasons. And it makes sense because of the economic situation in Zimbabwe, but they also migrate because of the political oppression and lack of opportunities in terms of education and accessing healthcare in Zimbabwe. So that's why these people migrate. Okay. Another key finding was that these people migrate for a purpose. So their purpose isn't to just come and live in South Africa and take South African employment. No, their purpose is to come and work here and support family back home. So remittances emerged as a key theme, sending money back home to support loved ones and friends. And then a third key theme that emerged is that all my participants are actively working or actively seeking for employment, whether they are a petrol attendant, whether they are a waiter, whether they are a petrol station manager, or whether they sit on the corner and wait for casual labor to come along and pick them up for the day. All these people want to do is work. And I think that's the most important thing that emerged within the research, is that regardless of what obstacle these people face, that they have a plan and they're sticking to it. We want to work. We can't get work in Zimbabwe. There's work in South Africa. Let's go and work. And that, a lot of academics have argued is the reason why you get so much xenophobia towards foreigners, because South Africans feel like these foreigners are stealing their jobs. But it's not that these foreigners are stealing your jobs. It's that these foreigners are willing to do the dirty work.
I see.
And they're willing to get paid less than minimum wage to do so, because the honest truth is, in Zimbabwe, having 100 Rand is better than having nothing.
Wow. Kiren, that was, we often discuss these kinds of topics and we think we understand how people are traveling, and we assume, yes, like you said, they of course are coming here to steal jobs. Why aren't they staying at home? Why are they just trying to cramp up everybody's space? But in reality, there's some real situations out there that are leading people to leave their homes and try to fit in with complete strangers who despise them. And then they still have to stay to make things work, no matter what, so you can send money back home and all other reasons. But anyway, thank you so much, Kiren. That, I think, opened up my eyes, and I'm hoping for some of our listeners as well. But before we go, it would be good to go on the lighter side of things.
Okay.
Tell us a lighter thing about yourself. What do you do for fun? What's in the future? We need PhDs around these kinds of topics. What's in the near future for you? And when you're not changing the world, what do you do for fun?
I don't actually have fun because I work. I'm a serious grafter. No, I'm joking. I'm probably the laziest person you'll ever meet. But I do plan on pursuing a PhD, but there's so many stuff you can write on, and I think honing in on a topic is going to be the real difficult bit. Doing the actual work is easy. It's honing in on a topic.
Tell them, Kiren.
But I think for fun, I like to unwind. I don't believe that fun should be something that you say, okay, on this day I'm doing this. It should be spontaneous and off the cuff, and you just go with it. So most of the time, it's either hiking in the forest or going to the beach, seeing what happens, going out for a drink with mates.
No.
So yeah,
No, that's awesome though. But really, just going spontaneous?
Yes.
But are you working currently?
Oh yes, no, I'm actually doing part-time research at UCT.
Oh, so you're continuing within the research space?
Yes.
Lovely. No, Kiren, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you for taking time to be with us here on the Research Report Show. I think we can all say we've learned something valuable about how we see people who are not from here trying to exist here. Thank you everyone for tuning in. I'm Tinashe Kushata, and this has been the Research Report Show. This is Varsity Podcasts.